Use the Force, Luke.
Live long and prosper.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Shut up and take my money.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a saving.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Winter is coming.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Stay a while and listen.
Hey, old Kermit the Frog here.
Bow ties are cool.
So say we all.
This is a Play on Nerds.
Welcome to a Play on Nerds episode 182. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jarman.
And I'm the other spooky co-host, Steve.
Ooh, did I mention I'm a ghost?
Ooh, we're both ghosts.
Ooh.
We're not going to do this.
No, we should, but we won't.
Why are we being ghosts?
It's Halloween time. Ooh. And that means we're going to do a little Halloween-y type of themed show a little bit. We're going to be doing a little bit of a twist in our normal Nerd Roll of Fortune later on with a spooky Nerd Roll of Fortune.
Nerd Roll of Fortune.
Yes. But before we get to all that, what have you been up to, Steve?
Well, one of our friends from high school and one of the other only people I've been close with since high school, Kelly, came to town.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
And so we took her to the Pittsburgh Things and Permanente Brothers, and we took her down to the Strip District. We got to have so we dropped our kids off, my mom and dad. And so me, Anna, Kelly, and then my cousin Tessa and her husband Dave came over, and we had like a night of drinking.
Oh, goodness.
And I'll tell you, so Dave is one of the people that can handle probably the most alcohol I've ever seen. Not like a negative way. It's just amazing how much he drinks, and he's just fine to drive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, okay, I can do it. And so in a very impressive way, and there came a point about midnight where they were just, I'd never seen him like this. And I was like, you know what? We have the two kids' beds. You guys just stay there. The kids are at my parents' place. So we had like adult sleepover and just kept drinking.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a real good time.
Oh, for people who don't know, tell them about Permanente Brothers and what that's all about.
Oh, Permanente Brothers. So in the Strip District in Pittsburgh, which is where all the trucks came through that carried in all the produce and the meats and stuff, the truckers would order sandwiches, and the Permanente Brothers was one of the places that made them. And all the sandwiches came with fries and coleslaw. And that was really hard to eat as they were driving the truck. So one guy said, hey, just put the fries and coleslaw on the sandwich and give it to me so I can eat it while I'm driving. And they did that, and other truckers started doing this, and it just became the thing.
Fries and coleslaw on the sandwich.
Any deli sandwich you can imagine, hot, cold deli sandwich you can imagine with fries and coleslaw on it.
That's pretty awesome.
And it is like the thing that Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is known for. The food thing.
It's pretty good. It's not good for your heart, but it's good.
It is. And the Strip is the area where all the trucks came in, and there's still a couple really cool big shops down there.
Nice.
So if you're in Pittsburgh, go check out Permanente Brothers down at the Strip.
There you go, folks.
And then after that, so the next day I was a little bit hungover, admittedly, because I don't drink really. So this was like a very rare night for me. And woke up just a little bit hungover, and my head hurt, and we just all kind of nursed it that day and went and picked up the kids and laid low. But then the next day, my head just got heavier, and I ended up sick, and we ended up a house of sickness.
Oh no!
That I think Kelly escaped from.
What kind of sickness?
Like the last part of the trip, just all in my head, like a sinus thing, like crazy, and it's sinus pressure like I have not felt in years.
Ooh!
You know the thing where like you can feel like the bubble moving around. Or like if you lean too far forward, you can feel it shift back and it hurts.
I never had sinus
stand
problems.
Up straight.
I don't know how it feels.
Man. It's very rare for me, but man, I haven't had that in years. But doing much better now.
Oh, good.
I'm on half doses of medicine now.
So that was this past
without
weekend.
It tomorrow. Yeah.
Very nice.
And then Joyce also got sick, came home after Monday, and she's like, my shoulder hurts. And I was like, oh, okay. And then as she got sat on the couch, she's like, it moved from my shoulder to my whole body.
Oh no.
And we went over and she had a temperature of 103.4.
Oh my God.
This poor girl. So like, okay, eat whatever you want. We're going to get you Tylenol. And then I did have to do the tough dad thing and like get her through a cool shower.
Oh gosh.
I was like, she's like, it's cold. I'm like, I know. It's supposed to be. We have to drop your temperature.
She did not like that.
No, man, it was a fight, but she did pretty good.
That's crazy because our friend Zach from high school, I just caught up with him on Sunday. His poor little boy, who's probably about 3 now, or 2 maybe, has foot and mouth disease.
Oh, poor guy.
And apparently it's a very common thing for little kids to get. And they're like, wow, all these symptoms look exactly like foot and mouth disease. That's exactly what it is. Rash in your feet, your mouth, your hands, and you get like a fever, temperature, and all this other stuff. And it's just not fun. So, yeah, a lot of kids getting sick out there. It happens.
Wash your hands.
Time.
Do your part, everyone.
Get them ready for Halloween so they're not sick by then. So, yeah, there you go.
That's right. Now we're just done.
That's right.
No more sickness. So what have you been doing?
Oh, well, last week.
That was a big segment about me. My God.
No, it's fine. Last week I went to the Broadway royalty show with my wife. We went to see Brian Stokes and Sutton Foster. And I had not heard the name Brian Stokes before, but Sutton Foster, that name rang a bell. And I looked her up and I'm like, oh, yeah, if you look her up, you might recognize her picture. She's been in a lot of TV shows and movies as of late, but she got her start with Thoroughly Modern Millie. That was her breakout role on Broadway, which is a big Broadway production back in probably 2004 era. And most recently, she starred opposite Hugh Jackman in The Music Man. She was a big run of that. She did the Marion the Librarian in that. And Brian Stokes, he started opening on Broadway as Ragtime as the lead in that play. And he was also later on in his career, Don Quixote of the Man of La Mancha. He has this really nice low baritone voice. But yeah, they were doing like a musical review at the local big theater here, and we got tickets for it, and it was a lot of fun. And then also hung out with the wife's parents this past weekend. We went to a small town nearby called DeLand and went on a boat tour and saw an alligator very up close. And I got a picture of it. I'll have to send it to you later, Steve. It was just nice. Sitting there with its mouth open, just like right there, sunning itself. Didn't care there was people nearby. Probably wanted to eat us, but that's Florida. That's just.
But you're just too much work.
It's just too much work. He was having a good time, just relaxing, sunning himself.
That's right.
But I think that takes us to some nerdy news.
It's time for Nerdy News.
All right. So the cheeky name for my cheapy story this week is trees. Trees.
Very nice.
All right, it's going to be good. So every 13 to 17 years, terrible things emerge from the ground and swarm the earth. Of course, I'm talking about cicadas.
Oh, yes.
Specifically 2 species it's called the Magicata genus. I kid you not.
Weird.
Well, these bastards show up and they howl like banshees every 13 to 17 years. It's awful. And for a long time, the scientific community believed that they didn't eat once they arose. They just wandered the earth, mating and laying little eggs and making future terrible things. And that was what accounted for such a short lifespan, because they're only around for 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But new research has revealed that might not be the case. Scientists checked the contents of cicadas' gut biomes, testing 2 different groups, one from cicadas that had been out and seen the world, and others that had just gotten out. And they examined their gut biome, and they found the ones that just got out, they didn't have any plant matter DNA in the mix. But the ones that had been out in the world, they had plant matter DNA in the mix. So now scientists believe, yeah, they do eat. So now scientists have now opened this other question by answering this, which is, well, we always thought that's why they had a really short lifespan, because they didn't eat. So why do they have a really short lifespan after spending 13 to 17 years in the ground?
Yeah, how do they survive 13 years in the ground, period?
They eat roots.
Oh, they do?
They eat roots down there.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah. Roots and like other plant matter kind of stuff.
Huh. Those are weird.
Yeah. They are. So that's so like zombies from the ground. We now realize they eat trees. Trees.
Now I get it.
That explains the name of the story. I know it was a tough sell. I know.
Totally makes sense. Totally.
Halloween theme.
Which brings us to our main segment, Spooky Roll of Fortune. I made a new one just for this occasion. Thanks, Vincent Price. We appreciate you. So Nerd Roll of Fortune in the past, you might know, is where we had ChatGPT come up with a lot of nerdy topics where we'd roll a dice to see what we're going to talk about. And then in that category, roll another dice for a more specific topic to talk about. And now we've adjusted it to the Halloween season. And Steve, do you have any dice handy?
I have a digital dice.
Perfect.
On my thing.
I have a D10. How about I roll this physical D10 and then you can roll the D6
I'll roll
digitally.
D6.
Okay. So our first topic. Oh, God. The dice falls off the table. Is a 5. 5 is supernatural creatures, some of Steve's favorite things.
I like this one. And the third one on the list, number 3, is the winner.
Zombies and the undead.
Zombies and the perfect trees.
So yeah, it was basically trees. We already talked about it, basically.
That's right. Well, good. We're going to talk about it again. So the zombie genre is honestly one of my favorites.
Really?
And it was I'd not say I've fallen out of love with it. It still holds a place in my heart. My one of my 2 tattoos on my body is my zombie bite on the back of my leg. Because we're already The Walking Dead. That's the important lesson. And so it's become such a saturated field.
Yeah.
Like since I felt this way and since I got this tattoo, that there's just so much zombie stuff now that it's hard for me to like love it die hard the way I did.
So basically you're a hipster zombie fan. You liked it before it was cool.
Zombies were cool. There just wasn't so much content.
Right.
There's like 30 zombie shows, right?
It's mostly The Walking Dead's fault. I mean, because they did so well, everyone wanted to copy it. And
right. And like when I got this tattoo, like Walking Dead, I think was like in its first season.
It had been a comic for
and
a while.
I had read the graphic novels, and I loved Dawn of the Dead and George A. Romero. So like I loved all that and was really into it. And I still love it. I don't regret this tattoo, but
have you watched like the new show, like with Daryl's new show and all that jazz?
I have not. I did watch a little bit of the Negan Maggie show.
Oh, that's already out? Damn.
I think so.
Wow.
And I watched some of the one with the kids.
Oh yeah,
like high schoolers. Right? I watched some of that one. And I watched some of probably 2 seasons worth of Fear the Walking Dead.
I'm 1 season behind on Fear the Walking Dead, but did you finish Walking Dead?
Yes, more or less.
More or less. What does that mean?
Well, some of the later seasons were watched like when Dilly was little. And so there's kind of these like blocks where I know I watched it, but
it was a blur.
we got dillied out or sleep or yeah.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the ending of it, and I was glad that they were going to split off and stories were kind of still going to continue that I can watch whenever I can, because I don't have a lot of time for shows anymore like I used to. But I watched all of Walking Dead, and there was slow seasons, but I really liked all the seasons. There's the slow farm season, the slow prison season, but I'm like, it was enjoyable. But I actually just did a video about the history of the failed production of World War Z 2. Because they were going to make a second World War Z movie, and they claimed
they'd talk about the failed production of World War Z 1.
Yes, they did, and they're like, basically, they took this book by Max Brooks, he's a son of Mel Brooks.
It's an incredible book.
I've heard great things. Good. Yeah,
it is so good.
They made it into a
so bad,
big budget like action lead movie with Brad Pitt, and so the second movie was still going to star Brad Pitt, would still be led by him, but they were going to incorporate a lot of the stories and the feel of the book into it, and it was going to be directed by David Fincher. David Fincher was very much into writing it. He was already talking to his collaborators from his other movies. He's worked with Brad Pitt a few times with Fight Club and Benjamin Button and one other movie I can't remember. But yeah, it was going to be a big deal and make it a smaller budget. They're going to make it more, story oriented, less about the CGI and the action. And just over the years and pitfalls after pitfalls, and then COVID hits, and they said, fine, and just forget it. It's not going to happen. So yeah, it could have been a thing. But World War Z, the book, what was it kind of about?
So it's this after account. So everything's already happened. And you get this guy who I believe is a journalist who made it through, who goes and just interviews a series of people and basically weaves a story of the beginning of the zombie apocalypse into the middle, into the harshest times, into humanity getting a hold of it, into like the turnaround, and now like in the after time.
Gotcha.
And it is just a series of really good interviews that could have been just a great serial kind of movie with short episodes or shot in a documentary style
with like reenactments,
interviews
almost,
and reenactments and that kind of stuff, or something like a slightly more cinematic.
Yeah. Like a mockumentary of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. I think something like that could have been done. And it could have been incredible because they could have had such a wide variety of people in this thing.
Yeah.
Because they could have gotten actors from all over, had international appeal out the butt. Because there's like Indian characters and there's Asian characters and there's American characters and British characters, and all like how the international scope handled this thing is also told through this story.
And I've seen Max Brooks interviewed talking about how he spoke with actual officials in the military and the government about how it would have actually be handled if this happened, because the CDC has real guidelines if something kind of similar to a zombie outbreak happens. And so he did his research.
Greatest population.
Yeah, like he really did his research and tried to figure out what they would actually do. So I should read it.
It is an incredible book. You should read it 100%. That's not my radical recommend, but 100%.
Well, I actually have time to do more reading these days, so maybe I'll jump into it. We'll see.
Well, good. Yeah, World War Z. I've also read his second book, Devolution. Which is about a small futuristic green community tucked in the hills of the Pacific Northwest during a volcano eruption that drives crazed Bigfoots out of the hills.
Oh, I love it.
It is a good book. It is so slow to start. But once you get into it, it's great, and then it's over.
And then it's over.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fun. And also South Korea did like a whole renaissance of zombie stuff in the last 10 years as well with Train to Busan.
Train to Busan, also really good.
And they had a sequel to Train to Busan, apparently, which was an animated thing, which I did another video about for my YouTube channel thing. But yeah, there's a big, so it had kind of a second renaissance in Korea and it just came over to America. But now I think it's on a downswing. I think there's not going to be zombie stuff featured for a while because the Resident Evil rehashes didn't really work, and it's kind of just on a downswing. But it'll pop back up again like a zombie. Yeah. So, second topic?
Let's do it.
All right, D10. We got a 2. Which takes us to Urban Legends.
Also a 2.
Oh, Men in Black.
Okay. So I think I've told this story on one of our podcasts at some point, but I remember coming to your game room and you printing this thing on the printer, and it was really a fight to get this thing printed.
That's right.
It was like 15 minutes, and it printed out, and you showed it to me. Like, this is a picture of a man in black. And it was just like a blurry photo in black and white of like a guy that kind of looked like Abe Lincoln a little bit. Like half standing behind a building, as I remember.
Yep, that's exactly what it looks like.
And I was like, oh, this just looks like blurry Abe Lincoln. I don't know what to tell you. And you were real disappointed.
So looky here. All right. Every photograph, at least before the digital age, it's all about provenance and where it came from, the story behind it. Can you track this photograph back to who is talking about it? And does that story have any validity? The story the guy told, where he took the picture, how it happened, that is what gives it interesting value, as opposed to just looking like a blurry picture of Abraham Lincoln. Agreed, it could be anybody, could be anything, but his story makes it compelling.
Anything. I'm glad that you at least admit that it could be anybody.
Yes. But I've been fascinated by the growing legend and lore of Men in Black that I read for the last, 15, 20 years. I've been reading about since the early days of AOL and going to the library and checking out books. And and this that they have always seemed to appear or talk to people who have seen UFOs or had some kind of experience. And it takes the gamut all the way from people in Air Force uniforms with these people who are wearing black suits to people arriving who don't seem to be quite human, and they seem to be very pale, and they seem to be wearing wigs, and they don't seem to be able to understand how to eat food, and they seem like they're just out of place entirely, but they still trying to make threats.
It was just Scandinavians, guys.
Scandinavians. How do I eat food? You see
they just
UFO.
Didn't know how to use the crazy pop cans.
And they didn't realize that UFO is just their cousin, that they're looking for their cousin. Did you see UFO?
That's right. Didn't understand anything they were saying. Seemed confused.
Damn Scandinavians. We can shit on Scandinavians because they're also white.
I'm just kidding. They all speak English.
They all speak English. They do.
They do. We're the dumb Americans. They all speak English.
But man, like right in that movie Men in Black came out, it couldn't have been right. It was probably right around the same time I was showing you that picture, because it was like I was right in the middle of it. I'm like, oh, this movie's awesome. I didn't like how I was making fun of the seriousness nature of the Men in Black. I was like, this is too silly, but I do appreciate their effort. You know, they made a rap song about them. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true. That was a catchy song.
Well, let's roll another dice.
Well, hold on.
Hold on. Of course.
Okay. So I guess my question is, no, we're not done with this. This Men in Black doc. So what are they retired now that like there's a government commission? What do you think their role is now in this like post? Okay, there might be something world.
Okay, well the people who have written about it
or
deep into it, they would say these, and I would also agree that if there actually was a government agency that was in the know about UFOs and had actual vehicles and knew things, they would be no part of this public research and public disclosures of UFOs and stuff. It's something that very low level people are creating, and if there's people actually in the know, they'd be so high level and so insulated that they would still be going around, they'd still exist, and just be laughing at these disclosures that are happening in the investigations that are going on that are in the public, because they won't really discover anything. That's what my opinion would be. If they actually existed, these would be silly to them, if that makes any sense.
So literally the exact same as in Men in Black, the movie.
Well, yeah, in a sense, yeah, because they can say...
Do you think they have flashy things?
I don't think they have flashy things.
They have flashy memory things.
But they did say that a lot of the witnesses who have seen the strange Men in Black, who don't seem quite human, that they always feel either nauseous or sick or out of place and strange, and time seems to dilate strangely when they're around. Like everything about them is off-putting and unusual, and like you're in some kind of strange zone when they walk into a room.
So that was my next question then. Do you think that they utilize alien, if they do exist, this
is the fun part, yeah.
They utilize alien tech, or would that be too dangerous to take in the field?
Well, either they use alien tech or they are in fact aliens, which is also a running theory, is that these are aliens trying to cover their own tracks, but they're really bad at it because they don't know how to act like a human. And actually, if you watch the show Fringe, great television show, I highly recommend to anybody. They explore the Man in Black issue, because Fringe isn't about aliens; it's about alternate dimensions and stuff. And so they kind of go with the theory that these Men in Black, I think it's something along the lines of time travelers / robotic people. Some people think they're robots, but they think that they've been around forever. There's even paintings they've pointed out in the past that have people look like Men in Black, but from that era. So that maybe they've been around for centuries and we just don't know what they are. They're strange, otherworldly creatures, perhaps.
I think it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Now, what are you talking about now? I'm just a Man in Black. Look at this flashy thing.
Go over here, Skip.
By the way, there's been an ad going around for this new movie that he's in with Jamie Foxx. And I'm like, he's been old for 40 years.
Dude, he was old in Space Cowboys, and that shit came out 20 years ago.
That movie was about old dudes, and he still looks exactly the same. He still looks old, but he's always looked old.
Is Donald Sutherland still alive, too?
He is. And he still looks old, and he's always been old, but he is showing his, like, he's, like, really kind of roughing it out. But yeah, I don't know. Tommy Lee Jones looks exactly the same, sounds the same. I don't know what's going on there. Fountain of old.
That's crazy. That's just crazy.
All right. Now you're ready. Roll the dice.
Now I'm ready to roll again.
I liked your question.
I was not ready to move on.
10. Supernatural powers and abilities.
5.
Oh, the concept of soulmates and soul connections.
Why is that under this category?
I guess it's supernatural in nature, but I don't think either Steve or I believe in supernatural things on the face value of things. I don't believe in a soul, so
I didn't really understand what this was. Never mind. Okay, no, we're talking about it. Okay. Comes with soulmates and soul connections. Okay, so here's my theory on soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, on some sort of scale that's probably immeasurable with any sort of test or quantifiable in any real way, makes you the most compatible with one other person in history.
There will be, yeah.
There's maybe one other person right now who's close,
right?
But only one other person in history. So the reality is that the chance of you and that person meeting, being that exact match and the best person for each other in history, mathematically is just insane.
Nearly impossible.
I mean, it's just insane. So yes, it's mathematically possible that soulmates are true, that are real. Like you literally met the other person that is the best person for you that has ever lived.
Right. So scientific.
And you are also the best person for them that has ever lived.
Yeah, it's scientifically possible.
And those people could meet at different ages or, but like chances are very low. Now, mind you, I think there's a good chance of you, there's then a slightly better mathematical chance of you finding the best person you could be with right now.
Right.
There's that.
But you also
that
change with time.
Exists. True. But even that could be mathematically quantified.
Right. You'll change with time.
Because if you're talking about time and time spans, you know how things are going to turn out, so you know how people are going to change. Yeah. We're thinking from this overhead timeline perspective that you need for this. So no, chances are not really, but
I think that
it's mathematically possible.
It's also counterproductive for relationships and your own happiness to think that soulmates exist
to yourself,
because
do that to someone else.
Then as soon as you have any kind of issue in your relationship, well, they're not my soulmate. It's like, no. If you go from the starting point of there are no soulmates, then you're like, oh, I really, really love her. I enjoy being with her. We're having a problem. We're going to work through it because there's no one who's perfect for us in every imaginable way possible.
Right.
No one's perfect. We're going to work through this and make it work. As opposed to, well, she's not my soulmate. Let's give up. Like find my soulmate out there.
And then soul connections, I kind of read as much less supernatural and much more like, kind of just like something that happens. Like when you're with someone long enough and love them long enough and are around them long enough, like their pain becomes your pain. It's not a real.
I could see that, yeah.
Connection, but their sorrow becomes your sorrow, and vice versa.
I also read
their
that as like
becomes your happiness.
Kind of a chemistry thing too. Like there's certain people I've met over the course of my life so far that after just like 5 minutes of talking with them, just completely mesh with them and really click with them. And it's like I could probably be friends with this person the rest of my life if we had the opportunity. We probably won't, but there's just some weird connection between the two of us. Not even romantic. It's just a matter of like friendship or just something like, damn, this like person clicks with me super easily. And that's also scientifically explained, but I think it kind of feels like a soul connection to me. It's like, whoa, this is a weird kind of vibe. Just all the kids today say vibe all the time, but that's kind of true. It's just, you have this weird vibe with people sometimes that works out really well.
Well, you know who's someone like that for me?
Who?
Rick.
Oh, yeah?
Because you guys started hanging out like a summer I was working at camp. And so because of that, I didn't really get to hang out with Rick. And I came back for like a week and a half or something before heading to Seattle. And we got to hang out for like 6 or 7 days in there and got on just incredibly well.
Yeah. He's also a very easy guy to get along with in general, but he, certain people just will click really well.
And then haven't really kept in touch with him a ton since. And then we get to see each other at your wedding and we like fall right back into it. I was like, all right, Rick, I see you.
I'll have to tell him you said that. I mean, he listens to the show every week, of course, like all of our friends. Yeah.
Love you, Ricky.
Oh.
All right. So that's my take on that one. That's not like supernatural. It's just like,
yeah, but it's an interesting topic. Interesting stuff. 2.
Oh, crap. I got to reroll. 2.
Well, we did 2 already. You want to do a different category?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll keep 2 on my side.
All right. Supernatural creatures.
Where's that one?
Number 5.
Ooh. So 2, werewolves and shapeshifters. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, not necessarily that they exist, but just a matter.
There's a lot of things. Okay. We'll talk about it in 2 categorical.
Yeah, because we talk about zombies and the undead, not in the way that they actually exist, but that what's about them is as a folklore, as a story, as a movies and that kind of thing.
So yeah, absolutely not. There's no way they exist. We'll just get that out of the way.
Well, of course, yeah.
In movies, I feel like the Wolfman werewolf thing. Like, while there are some very notable films, American Werewolf in London, and the much worse American Werewolf in Paris, it's much worse. And what was that one with
Teen Wolf? Yeah.
Teen Wolf. And you get gems like the movie Wolf. I think it was just called Wolf with Jack Nicholson, James Spader.
Oh, yeah.
And you get a few good ones in there, but it certainly has not had like the heyday that zombie stuff has had or vampire stuff has had.
Yeah, and they mixed werewolves in with some vampire stuff, which has been very good. Like with Underworld, I really enjoy the pulpy Underworld series of movies.
I mean, the only guy who gets less play than the werewolf is the fish guy, and even he got Shape of Water.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, that archetype.
But no, I think Sexy Underworld kind of helped me with my career, because that movie series spawned a whole subgenre of romance novels that I now work on constantly that involve shapeshifters, werewolves, vampires, but a lot of shifters, they call them, where they usually don't shift into werewolves. They usually shift fully into an animal.
Right.
A wolf.
And in lore, I think I covered this maybe on a previous Halloween episode, but in lore that was much more common until recent.
Yeah. Instead of the bipedal werewolf thing.
Right. Becoming literally a full-on wolf, or maybe a great wolf, or like a big wolf. Yeah.
And there's a big thing. I watched this show now. It's all ultra cheesy as well, but this The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. But Skinwalker Ranch is this place that's been around forever in the United States and Utah, and it was by the Native Americans, had huge lore of shifters being there. They were shifting wolves, and they were extremely terrifying to the locals, and they always stayed away from this area of land. Eventually it was bought by these white settlers, and they had a farm there, a big ranch. And finally, by the 1990s, there's so much crap happened there, where UFOs and ghosts and every random paranormal thing you could possibly think of would happen on this land. So finally, this guy named Bigelow bought the land, and because he wanted to do research there, he's a multimillionaire. And so he paid all these scientists to come out and research it. And finally, the government got involved, and the government bought a stake in the ranch and was there for 10 years with Bigelow, researching this land. And that's just on paper. This really happened. For some reason, our government decided to spend money to research portals and shapeshifters and UFOs in Utah. So finally, Bigelow sold the land to this new millionaire, who now made a reality show out of scientists coming there to study the land. And they do drones, and they do radar and ground penetrating radar and all these things that's fine. And no one's seen a shifter yet, but those are things that are there. That's why it's called Skinwalker. They call these shapeshifters Skinwalkers in the Native American culture. So it's a fascinating show, and they see a lot of UFOs in the show, which, I can't explain, but a lot of video of UFOs and strange things that happened on the ranch. A cow died with all its blood taken away while the show was happening, supposedly. So it's interesting, but that's my take on shapeshifters in the real world, as it were.
No, absolutely not.
Absolutely
100% no. No, of all the things I'm willing to give credence, I'm willing to say that soulmates are mathematically possible and aliens are mathematically probable. And I think that there's at least something that could be Bigfoot. It could be.
Small possibility.
It's possible. Mathematically, it's possible. So I can't rule it out. The odds are very low.
Some animals
Don't get me wrong.
in the animal kingdom they do shift in a way and look like different creatures, but they're not really shape shifting. That's the thing. No one,
right.
Nothing really does that. I mean, like a cocoon becoming a butterfly.
I can't get on that. Besides, like cuttlefish. and octopuses that can change their textures.
Yeah.
I guess you win. Werewolf.
Chameleons
octopi.
change their colors.
Werewolf to pee. Werewolf to pee. Does that sound right?
Lycanthropy. That's what it is. All right. Well, let's go to our next topic.
All right. This is the last one, because I think we've done 4 or 5. We're going crazy.
I want to get to one of the story ones. But looks like we're not going to get to one of those. Yeah, let's not do haunted locations.
No, the hell with that. I re-rolled mine.
All right, let's do, just so we can get one of the story ones in here. Let's do 6. Mysterious disappearances. Ooh.
Okay. 5 is the one on there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So, we're going to the Bermuda Triangle Mysteries. All right. In the vast expanse of the Atlantic Ocean, the Bermuda Triangle has long been a vortex of enigmatic disappearances. This region, stretching from Miami to Bermuda and Puerto Rico, has witnessed the vanishing of countless aircraft and vessels. The legends tell of aircraft and ships that entered the triangle but never returned, leaving behind a void of unanswered questions. These unexplained disappearances, coupled with eerie phenomena like compasses malfunctioning and electronic failures, have fed the mysteries of this foreboding place. While theories abound, including magnetic anomalies and supernatural forces, the true nature of the Bermuda Triangle remains an enduring riddle. Its chilling reputation continues to capture the imagination of those who ponder its mysteries, leaving them with a sense of lingering unease. So what do you think of the Bermuda Triangle?
It's werewolves.
It's werewolves, of course.
It's werewolves. That's where they live. They got an island out there, and they can't afford to let anyone discover it. So they just shot everyone down.
I just keep thinking of What We Do in the Shadows movie, where he says, "Hey, don't do that. We're werewolves, not swearwolves."
Come on, guys. We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
I love that. Yeah, I think there could be some natural explanations for. There was an extreme amount of flights that went down there, but it's in the middle of the ocean, and that just happens, and that's where it's going to happen. You know, where you're farthest away from land.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. There could be something, but at this point, with all the nuttiness out there, people have studied the magnetics, people have studied the wind, and people have studied the weather. People have done these things, and they haven't found an answer.
And I also
that
saw
makes sense. So if it is a natural phenomenon, it's one that we cannot measure or cannot perceive, which is possible.
Of course it is. Yeah, things we don't understand yet,
but not likely.
But the most funny thing I've seen about, that's why I don't really pay much attention to the Bermuda Triangle anymore, because someone said mysteriously, since like the late 70s, you don't see many crashes or mysterious disappearances anymore in the Bermuda Triangle, and they think it's just because technology's better.
Yeah, technology's better.
Less flights are crashing, like because they have the ability to circumnavigate better, and it's not an issue.
And TikTokers go out there and do videos and stuff. It's crazy.
Bermuda Triangle, woo!
Yeah, we're gonna get lost. Yeah. Also, we're gonna see how many Skittles my friend Trevo can eat.
Trevo, that's definitely his name. And it's on his birth certificate too.
I'm really not feeling good. These waves are getting to me. Come on, Trevo, be a bro.
I'm gonna Bermuda Triangle over your pants in a second if you'll stop it.
Taste the rainbow, yeah.
Taste the rainbow. Well, we'll save this list for next year because there's a lot of cool stories on here we didn't get to, and a lot of fun topics we didn't get to talk about. So we'll definitely keep in touch till next year for more spooky AI GPT madness.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, that takes us to some radical recommends.
I recommend.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
What do you recommend I do?
I recommend Pleasant.
All right, so this week I'm going to recommend something that I never thought I would because I'm not a drinker. Really not a drinker. In fact, this year probably represents the most I have drank in a decade or more.
Wow.
Between your wedding and like Kelly coming to town and us having this crazy night and me drinking slightly more socially here.
Mm-hmm.
Like at a Penn State game, I will have a beer, that sort of thing. But since Kelly was here, we celebrated, we went out for dinner and we came back and we all drank. So I made tequila shooters, which is something I used to make in college and I forgot how good it is. So tequila is like the only hard alcohol I can do for whatever reason. It's the only one. And the best way to consume it is what you do is you You go get a big thing of pineapple juice. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Sure. I love pineapple.
You go and you take like 3 or 4 drops of vanilla extract.
Ooh.
Not a ton. You get it in that pineapple juice. You shake that baby up. And then you pour shots that are half tequila and half that.
Ah.
And for whatever reason, the mix of the pineapple and the vanilla completely eats the taste of the tequila. So yeah, you're not doing a full shot. So it's going to let you party a little bit more. You're getting other liquid in you.
And it's delicious.
And it is delicious. And because they're half, you can call for them more often. So it feels more fun. Like there were so many times that night that someone would just go, tequila shooters. And I go, tequila shooters. And we go do them because we're all each only doing a half a shot.
See, when parents get a night off, they party hard.
Man, we really did. We really, really did.
And you can make that into a nice drink too. Maybe like a regular amount, like a shot of tequila, then put the shot of that in, and then just some Sprite on top, maybe or some club soda or something like that.
Oh yeah, just a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah, you could do a sipper on it.
Yeah,
make
that into a sipper. That'd be really delicious.
But it's great as a shooter. It goes down so smooth.
I like the sound of that.
So that's tequila shooter.
I haven't drank anything in like almost 3 months, but if I ever do again, I'll try that.
Yeah, you will. All right, it takes us to some trailer review.
That's right. All right, this week we're talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And I think the Lost Kingdom is what they're calling the DCEU. That's why they're putting this movie out.
Yeah.
It's the second movie of Aquaman by himself. And yeah, it looks like this time he's up against that same guy again. I can't remember his name already.
Yep. All the same guys from the last movie.
Yep.
As far as we know, it's all the same guys. Same bad guy, same brother, same everything.
Yep. I didn't see Willem Dafoe, but I can't even remember if he died the last movie. So maybe that's why he's not there. But yeah.
And Amber Heard, of course, is not featured, but she is shown very briefly.
Yes. And she recently, which is kind of shitty, even for someone who might have done bad stuff that she's done, someone leaked out her therapist notes from her time during filming The Lost Kingdom. And she wrote about the bad things happening on set and how Jason Momoa was often drunk and he'd sometimes come dressed as Johnny Depp just to taunt and taunt her, basically. And they made set a living hell for her when the whole trial was starting up. And, I believe it. You can believe two things at once, that she did a lot of shitty things in that marriage, so did Johnny Depp, and also people are terrible and they should just, mind their own business. And you already hired her for the job, just make it as easy as possible while you're there on the set.
And in their defense, Jason Momoa also already kind of just dresses like Johnny Depp.
He kind of does.
They both have that jacket, flowy thing, open collar.
Some necklaces, some rings,
Right.
Tattoos.
So I don't...
It's hard to tell.
That's that entire story. That's the one thing I'm incredulous about.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm with you on that one. That's like
they dress kind of the same.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? One thing I like about this too is that recently, as several years now, Jason Momoa's kind of had a dad bod, which is great. Yeah, good for him. And so this movie, you can purposely see the only shirtless shot they show of him is from the last movie. It's like a clip of things happened before, and everything else he's in like the muscle suit and everything. So I'm like, good for you, man. You don't need to work out that much. That's nuts.
That's right.
He's still a huge guy. He's just a big dude. But anyway, what do you think of the trailer, Steve?
I don't know. It looks boring as hell. There's some other MacGuffin that we already told you exactly what it is, so you know to watch out for it.
The Black Trident.
There's everybody from the last movie, but this time they're going to be friends. And oh my God, look, ooh, Nicole Kidman. Oh,
and I tried to think about, am I just jaded now? Because there are a lot of crazy special effects and huge action set pieces and stuff. I'm like, when I was a kid, would this be really impressive? But now just we've seen it so much. Are we just overwhelmed and it's just really not impressive anymore? I don't know.
But that's always been the way of it with film. Film's always been, this is the new standard. Live up to it or die. That's always been,
Well, especially superhero
when new
movies
media
now.
and new tech comes in. Well, I'm just talking about like even like the transition to color and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, there's transition to color, then there's always having tons of CGI, tons of action.
But I'm saying that became the expectation.
Right.
And if you didn't switch to that, you were done.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's always been the way of movies. And everything was like Harryhausen claymation. That became like the standard. So if you didn't have effects at least that good, you weren't making A+ movies.
Well, which is funny, though. I see almost
and then
everywhere.
Spielberg said it again. If you weren't making stuff that good, you weren't making A+ movies.
But I see everywhere all these fans always clamoring for more practical effects. And I feel like the studios aren't getting the hint that we don't want so much CGI. And the ones that do it, like they mix some CGI with practical effects, that's the one we like the most because you can feel it. It feels real on screen, you know?
I don't know. I think that really the practical effects that are the interactive things that an actor is going to need to actually participate with 150%. But, you know, I don't need an animatronic whale in a wide shot.
Well, no, I don't either. It's going to be reasonable.
That's just that's the reality. So, but I agree that like if something an actor is really going to have to interact with, then absolutely.
Yeah, like they'll have dragons in the new Game of Thrones show that are partially a big animatronic, but then you see the behind the scenes and a lot of the face and everything is green screen on it so that they can mix in CGI effects. So it's like it feels real at the same time that it's also CGI. That's pretty cool. But instead they just want to slap in, you know.
I think another thing that did that very successfully was the Dark Crystal.
Oh, the new series?
Age of Resistance. Yeah. That we'll never get a sequel to. I thought that did a really good job of that mixed media, that blending.
Very much so. That show was beautiful.
So this one, I'm going to give it, I don't know, like Gary Busey got a fish tank. Okay, here we go. Gary Busey got a fish tank. And he is like, hey, Raul, I got an idea. I'm going to teach my fish to drink Dr. Pepper. Raul's in his chair trying to read the paper and he goes, don't do that. It's going to hurt them. And I was like, nah, see, I'm just going to add 1 can a day. I was like, nope, don't do it. Then Gary gets the can and he gets up on a stool and he cracks it open and he goes for it and he slips on the stool, pulling over the fish tank, spilling all over the floor. And Raul just gently puts his feet up on the stool as he continues to read his paper.
How do they live together? I don't know how this works.
I'm sticky and wet. Help me.
Why didn't you use diet? It doesn't get sticky. My review for this is even darker. So Raul Julia comes home from a long day at the Royal Shakespeare Academy. And he comes home and he says, I can't find Gary. He's nowhere in the house. So he goes in the backyard and sees the kiddie pool that Gary had bought many, many weeks ago. And he just sees Gary face planted, face down in the kiddie pool, drowned and dead. And he just looks at him for a second and just goes, all right. He walks back inside. Because that's this movie. This movie is Gary Busey drowned in a kiddie pool.
That's right.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. That's what the season's all about.
Oh, yeah.
So tragic. Well, thank you for joining us. Join us again next time for episode 183, which is going to come out right on the heels of the big anticipated The Marvels.
Yeah.
Featuring a strong female cast. Everyone is very excited for this much anticipated addition to the universe. But I feel like a lot of people are forgetting a movie that really paved the way for big budget female superhero movies. And of course, I'm talking about the indelible classic, Catwoman.
Yes.
With Halle Berry.
Same.
So we're going to go ahead and in honor of the Marvels, we are going to review Catwoman with Halle Berry.
We do this for you folks.
That's right. But until that time, come on back and be our nerdy audience. We will keep on coming back and being your spooky co-hosts. Thanks again, Internet.
Stay nerdy, my friend.
Here go.
Thanks for listening to A Play on Nerds. Feel free to email feedback at aplayonnerds.com with all your questions or comments.
Shoot us a message on Facebook or Twitter and earn yourself a sweet shout out on the show.
Review us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts so even more nerds can find us. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, we aren't picky.
Check out our entire back catalog and other offerings at aplayonnerds.com.
And how?